Alrighty, so now we're going to do one final way of solving a quadratic equation. It's completing the square. So for example, if you have a squared, okay, you have a squared plus 2a minus 3 is equal to 0. Okay. Now, to complete the square, what we do is we have to isolate these two parts, this a squared and 2a, right, from this constant. So we get a squared plus 2a, alright, and then you get minus 3 is equal to 0. So give yourself some space here, because we're going to complete the square, and give yourself some space here, so you'll find out what we'll do. Okay, so to complete the square, what you do is you take the middle part of the quadratic, which is the coefficient that has the a. Right, what you do is you take the coefficient, you divide that by 2, and then you square it. So completing a square means you divide the middle term. Alright, you take the coefficient, you divide it by 2, and then you square it. So 2, alright, divided by 2 is 1, and then we get square that's 1 squared. So what we put in here is 1 squared. Okay? However, you know, as we've noted before with equations, if you add something, we have to do something to the other side. Well, in this case, what we're going to do is, alright, if we have plus 1 squared, alright, then what we have to do is we have to subtract 1 squared, okay? But we're not going to subtract 1 squared from the right side, we're going to subtract 1 squared from the same side. Because the reason why is this. It's like saying that, you know, like 7, alright, 7 plus 3 minus 3 is equal to 7, okay? So it's like saying, like, okay, we know that 7 is equal to 7, right? And if I want to keep this expression the same, alright, so let's say I said 7 plus 3, and I still want it to be equal to 7, then technically what I have to do is I have to subtract both sides by 3, right? So it's kind of like I'm adding 3, but I'm subtracting 3 at the same time. And it's like the same idea here. I added 1 squared, but to keep this equation the same, technically, I'm also subtracting by 1 squared. So technically everything is equal to each other. Okay, so now we complete the square. Okay, we can now convert these into binomial, right? So we can get a times a, right, minus, oh well, here we have, let's see, negative 3 minus 1 squared, right? So we have negative 3 minus 1, which is minus 4, is equal to 0. Now to find this binomial. Okay, so I know the factors of 1 are 1 and 1, okay? And I know that has to be a positive, so it has to either be a negative or negative. In this case, alright, we have a positive here in the middle, so we have to put a positive for both of these monomials. Alright, so a plus 1 times a plus 1 is also equal to a plus 1 squared. This means the same thing. Minus 4 is equal to 0. Now, we want to solve for a. Now to do this, we have to isolate the variables from here, from the numbers. So what we do is we add 4 to both sides. So you get a plus 1 squared is equal to 4, right? Right now, we square root both sides. So we get a plus 1 is equal to plus or minus 2, because square root of 4 is 2, but it's plus or minus 2. So a is equal to negative 1 plus or minus 2. Okay. And if we do the math here, so negative 1 plus 2, or we have negative 1 minus 2, so we get 2 minus 1 is 1, negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3.